Welcome to DGT Live. I'm your host, Johnny Walker, here to bring you our Fear the Walking Dead review for Season 4, Episode 2, A Day in the Diamond. So, just me again today, folks. I'm just doing a quick live stream. I will pull up the chat, though, just in case anyone kind of pops in, just to talk about. I still want to do Fear reviews every week because the show is so cool now. Again, it's a little bit strange if your kind of spin-off show kind of overlaps your main show, and that's debatable, right? We can talk about that later, but this one is just talking about Fear, but it's not just me tonight. I am going to be joined by a special guest. So I have a Imperial India Pale Ale, the Gob Smacked. That's Gob's Smacked Spring edition. This is the Imperial series from Rubens. This thing is a 10%er, 80 IBU giant thing. Notes, it says peach notes on the nose with a cone of sugar sweetness in support. Tangerine comes through in the mid palate with grapefruit in the finish. A smooth, soft, and juicy body provides balance in the finish. So super excited for this one. Super excited to try this one out. Of course, this one I got from my boy Christian at Northwest Beverage. Love you, sir, for always bringing the goods. Love Northwest Beverage and everything they provide, all the brands that they offer. So I'm going to pour this up real quick, and then we will get into talking about the show. I hope you guys could hear me okay. So once I do, ooh, man, just cracking that open. Smells like a big, giant, juicy peach, but with a lot of hot bitterness kind of coming through on the nose. That is nice. I guess I could listen real quick. Yes, I guess I sound okay. I mean, it's still me, so it's not the best. But cheers, Deadheads, and let's see what Mr. Rubin has to offer. The Gobsmacked. Ooh, okay. Super piney. Blah, yeah. It's nice though. Crisp, clean, very piney. It smells very tropical, smells very fruity. It is not a tropical IPA. This is very West Coast style IPA, but brilliant. We'll talk about it more later. Don't taste any of that 10%. That's a dangerous drinker. That's crazy. I just want to start this off also with a caveat. You will probably be hearing a little pitter patter here and there. I am on parent duty currently. So the kids, hey, I'm a dad. So we're going to have kids probably running in and out. Maybe, who knows, if the NyQuil wore off in time. But alas, enough stalling. Let's talk about Fear the Walking Dead. So thank everyone for joining us for our last week season premiere of Fear. That's for season 4. That one was brilliant. That was and this is going to be full spoilers. So we're going to talk about spoilers from last week, spoilers for this newest episode for Fear, and spoilers for The Walking Dead. The last episode of Fear started out with a bang. And if you watch our big party with Rad Entertainment, Walking Bread, Ted from Card Bazaar, my sister, The Walking Deb, Felix from Thought Factory, all the Rad Entertainment guys, Rebecca, Tony, Dan, and I know I'm probably missing someone, and I feel horrible for it. So please call me out if you're watching, or later on if you watch this later. But just that was so much fun. It was like almost a 2.5 hour, almost 3 hour extravaganza, covering the review for Walking Dead proper, and then the premiere for Fear. So as we stated on the last show, the Walking Dead, at least for me and for a lot of people in our big party, and a lot of deadheads in general, the Walking Dead finale was kind of it fell a little flat, is what I'm trying to say. And it's weird because it was a culmination, and this isn't going to be a huge bitch fest about Walking Dead, the main show, but it is relevant because the way it ended, it was a little anticlimactic, and then Fear the Walking Dead starts, and you could see it's got a complete facelift with a new credit roll, and the way they started it for all intents and purposes, last week's Fear premiere was basically a Walking Dead episode, a continuation of the finale for regular Walking Dead, and it was great. We just spent over an hour with these characters, Rick, Jesus, Carol, all of them, and it was just like, it was kind of humdrum. But then when you saw them in Fear the Walking Dead, it's kind of like going to school and seeing your teacher at the grocery store. It's like, oh my god, you're a real person, you're not supposed to be here. And that's how I felt when Rick Grimes is in a Fear the Walking Dead episode, and that's not to mention Morgan. That was a very Morgan centric show, and it was just so fantastic, so perfectly paced, not boring at all, no matter what you hear. I mean, I am shouting from the rooftops at this point about the direction of Fear. So I was extremely excited because at the end of episode 1 for season 4, we finally get our Fear group, right? We get our Clarks, so to speak. It was Alicia, Nick, Luciana, and Strand. So they show up, they pop up, they take our newbies kind of hostage: Al, John, the gunslinger, and Morgan. And again, we talked about how great these characters are. We don't have to sell Morgan. Lenny James was probably, arguably, and to me, not even arguably, the best actor on The Walking Dead. So it was incredibly risky move to put that on your spinoff show, to put that caliber of an actor, that caliber of a character on your spinoff show. But I would say, at least for Fear, it paid off. This was the shot in the arm that this show needed. And right at the end, to kind of tie it into the Fear world, kind of passing the baton, we got the Fear group popping up and taking Morgan, Al, and John hostage. So that's great. That's fantastic. So as we stated in the last review for the Fear premiere, I said I didn't want the rest of the season, because Alicia looked like hell. Everyone looked like they went through hell when they popped up. But I stated I didn't want this to become a whole flashback season completely. I understand if they want to do a flashback in episode 2, which obviously they did, and this is completely the direction that they're going. But I don't know if I could take a lot of this. And it looks like definitely it didn't wrap it up. It didn't wrap up the entire flashback in episode 2. And that's something that I'm a little bit worried about, because, I was a huge fan of Lost back when that was on, but it kind of dragged on and kind of got stupid and disjointed after a while with the flashbacks and flash forwards, and you never know what kind of time stream that you're looking at. So with that, I don't, let's start from the beginning. And real quick, it looks like Felix from Thought Factory, fresh off our show from last week, is in the chat. He says, I agree. Last week was my favorite episode of Fear to date. Yesterday was all right. It did make me want to know more about the OG crew. And that's a great point, Felix. It did. Because everything that, and it just basically stated right then and there, it says, before, and it has like the whole, that's basically time stamping it and saying that it's going to be from the time before, when the Fear group kind of abducts our new group. So okay. So that's the thing. So it, right away we're like, okay, we're going to get a flashback, but then we get, at first, it shows everyone waking up in their beds, which kind of reminded me of when they did that, when everything was kind of going all well and good in Walking Dead. I think it might've been, oh wow, I want to say it was mid-season 6, where everyone kind of wakes up from after All Out War, and it was like when Roshon first started happening. It kind of felt like that. It kind of felt like, or the prison time skip where it was so many days without an incident. This, the Clark family now has control of the settlement, which is called the Diamond, which is very cute. It's after it is a baseball diamond. So they have control of this, and I'm just like, okay, yeah, I'm curious about this. Nick's now a farmer. Nick doesn't want to go outside the walls ever anymore, and that's a complete turnaround for his character. That's a new development and an evolution or a de-evolution for his character, which I kind of enjoy that they're going there. Nick is, say what you will, anyone say what you will about Nick as a character on Fear. I think he is one of the most dynamic characters that you could kind of like. He's a blank canvas. You could kind of paint whatever you want with that character, and it would make sense because of him being an addict and because of him having all this emotional trauma and everything. So Nick is always a really fun POV character, in my opinion, because you could do so much with him. He's very versatile. So at this moment, Nick is Farmer John. He is back with Luciana, which is cool. Luciana now has, she is pretty fluent in the English, which is cool. And it looks like he's doing turnips. He's little farmer Nick, and he's got this little buddy named Charlie that's following him around. And it's real sad. Everyone's looking for his or her family, or at least that's what the decision is made. The population of the Diamond is 47 people, which I think is pretty cool. But you have them, Nick and Luciana and his whole thing, and it's just like, okay, why doesn't he want to go outside? Well, because of the zombie apocalypse. But this is the dude that traversed the entire Mexican wasteland, living with walkers. So it had to have been something pretty crazy to kind of change his tune completely. So that's I'm just like, okay, of course I want to see that explained, but it doesn't need to be a couple episodes to do it or an entire season. But whatever, I'm still, I was still on board. I'm still on board. And then it goes over to Madison, and Madison's the one kind of talking to Charlie. And this is the thing in this opening with Matt, because for all intents and purposes, not even that, this is the first time we see Madison on season 4, because she is not in season, or she's not in episode 1. Excuse me. She is, this is kind of Madison's reintroduction. And this scene kind of answered a lot of unanswered questions. And it still might go this way, but a lot of people, myself included, if you follow the Walking Dead comic books, Madison is a pretty high candidate to become something of an alpha, or the character of Alpha to cross back over into the Walking Dead and become, head whisperer or whatever. But it seems right now we are seeing a lot more benign Madison. It looks like she was really going in kind of an evil route, or, just kind of a villain route. And then Clark's in general, you could see kind of just how they left it off. They could have very well done that, and they still can. I'm just saying it looked like she is in a better place. And she is kind of taken on a more benign motherly role. She's always very protective of her children, of Nick and Alicia, but at this point she is very protective of her other people as well in the Diamond. She's also protective of this little kid, Charlie, and she wants to go find her parents. And she even says, I guess Madison's new motto is "They're never gone until they're gone." So that's interesting. That was a direction that I didn't know they were gonna. Again, it's another character that they just completely 180. Nick complete 180. Last time we saw Nick, he was doing other than on the dam hitting the button, but he was doing Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas with not Spencer, with oh no, I forgot his name. He was so good. Felix, help me out in the chat. What was the villain's name in season 3? Whatever. But a great villain. He was doing that. So, he was kind of a loose cannon. He was kind of all over the place. And again, Strand looks like he's got his shit together. He looks like he is completely okay with him, with his role falling in line, playing second fiddle to Madison, being a lieutenant. He seems fine with that. And then, of course, Luciana, she took off in season 3, and now she's back with Nick, and everything looks great and hunky dory, which kind of sets the stage. When everything's great, especially after a big time jump, 365 days without an incident, the shit's about to hit the fan, or the turnips are about to hit the weevils, because it doesn't last. So it fast forwards through all of the good stuff, all of the feel good Hallmark movie Fear the Walking Dead that has no place for these eyes, I guess, because we have to just see crisis all the time, which is fine. So they wind up going out. They find this silo with a bunch of things that reminded me of kind of where Merle kind of was expunged from the show, where I think that's in regular Walking Dead, and they're in Texas. I want to mention Troy Otto. Thank you, Felix. Johnny on the spot, or Felix on the spot. Thank you. Hey, Christian. Hey, John. Here with you, my friend. You're killing it on the live stream. Thank you, sir. And you're helping me because this gobsmacked from Rubens is the business. So thank you again, Christian. But yeah, it reminded me of that spot with Merle, where he spoiler alert, Christian and anyone that hasn't watched the show of regular Walking Dead, it did remind me of that place where the governor kills Merle. But Merle, I know, I miss Dead Guy Ty. Oh, that's who I didn't mention. Dead Guy Ty was on the show last week. Sorry, buddy. He and I started the show and I forgot to mention you. I'm fired. But yeah, it was cool. So they're looking around for Charlie's folks, for Charlie's group, her parents, whatever, at the behest of Madison. Madison, like I said, is now a complete, like, this kind of guardian angel, going out and putting herself and some of her family. Alicia was with her, although she was with Madison in the little teams. Everyone buddied up. Strand went with Luciana, but someone pulls a gun on Madison. She turns around. It turns out to be the new character, Naomi, Jenna Elfman, of all people. Man, I haven't seen Jenna Elfman in a while. She 90s called. They want their Jenna Elfman back. But yeah, that was a joke worth drinking. Whenever I make a bad joke, I will have to pound some. But yeah, there's that alcohol. You can't taste it on the initial sip, but it does sneak up. But yeah, so that happens. It looks like of course, Naomi's not going to shoot, blah blah blah. Everyone calls her bluff. She falls back, and then we get to see kind of what happened in that little silo underneath, and all that gook, that sewage or whatever. That is where we saw all those promo photos of Madison and Naomi down there in the shit, basically, and all these walkers are kind of converging on her. And even then, you would even think someone like Rick or even someone like Jesus or Maggie, even, they would probably see this person that just pulled a gun on your ass fall in a hole full of floating poop and walkers, and they would probably be like, oh man, that sucks. Well, I wasn't going to kill you even though you pulled a gun on me, but I gotta go because I'm not risking anything. But now come see the softer side of Madison as she jumps down and saves Naomi, which is, we'll get more of that. Is it a good thing or not? And of course, in regular Walking Dead fashion, because anytime that you find one person out on their own, they have to be a nurse or a doctor. Are you freaking kidding me? That was like, that's so TV show. Like, everybody finds a doctor. Everyone finds exactly what they need. I was cracking up like Rich Evans. Just thought it was so funny that Naomi, Jenna Elfman's character, happened to be an ER surgeon. He's just like, "Are you a doctor?" And he didn't even like give her a choice. He didn't even say, "What did you do?" Before all this happened. He just goes, "Were you a doctor or a surgeon?" And she, or a doctor or a nurse? Yeah, doctor or a nurse. And she's like, "Oh yeah, I was a nurse. ER, exactly what you need because you busted your head." And I was just like, "Oh my god!" Like, they just did this in regular Walking Dead with Homeboy that got Carl killed, but whatever. I mean, it was fine. So they go back. And all the while, this episode, I'll get there in a sec. It looks like Felix and Christian are making good friends on the chat, which is awesome. But yeah, it was. So yeah, they go back. Luciana finds the book. I guess it meant that they did kind of find Charlie's camp or Charlie's family because of that. I think it was like the Little Prince or something like that. And so they go back to deliver the bad news, and basically tell Charlie that, sorry, your family didn't make it, and it's a big bummer. But she's like, what did happen? Because it is a little bizarre to have these walkers, and it had like little wind chimes and stuff, because I think there was like a lot of little pieces of silverware and cutlery kind of stapled or nailed to that walkway up. So we kind of know what happened and how they did it, but at the time it seemed very bizarre. I'm watching them just like, how did they all get them completely perfectly in there? And then they put the flag up there, it was so funny because the flag said 457, and I remember that because that's my real job. That's the store number. I'm like, oh God, is that what is to become? Is that a little foreshadowing? Which was a little creepy. But moving on, back at the Diamond, like I said, Nick kind of freaks out because everyone's taking a while to get back to where they should be. So he jumps in the car, and we get our first kind of flashback. And I do like how they color schemed all the flashbacks, flash forwards, and all that. Oh, okay. I'll come fix it in a minute. Thank you. All right. So I told you I wanted to be completely upfront and honest with you guys. Like I said, I am on duty, so I will be talking to people, other people around here. Okay. So give me one second. We're gonna break real quick. All right, and we're back. Nice little bathroom break or whatever you do. I don't judge. But we're back. So Nick, yeah, I liked the way that they color coded the flashbacks and flash forwards. I liked that everything in it's technically a flashback. Everything at the Diamond is kind of has like almost like a hazy, like a light brown filter on the camera. Everything with Morgan, everything that's happening in the now has this like kind of like grayish blue filter on it. And then everything in the way back has this ultra realistic, like bright, like almost orange hue. And that's with Nick on the bridge, Madison in the water and all that. So it did differentiate. Hey, Deb, Walking Deb's here in the chat too. It did differentiate the timelines very well with the color scheme, which I appreciated. I liked that they went that stylized route. But yeah, it showed Nick kind of freaking out about why he's not going out, or at least just flashing back to the bridge exploding or the dam exploding. So it was pretty cool how they did it. I liked that. But then Nick jumps in the car and then just gets kind of beset by a bunch of walkers, runs into a light pole, and then goes back, which was it was fine. I like how he's just like really freaking out. It was like me watching me get on a skateboard at my age now, where I was just like, okay, I could do this. I could ride like 10 feet or something, but it's gonna be shaky and I'm probably gonna hit a light pole. So that was cool, and then he got the damage, and that gave our newfound ER nurse something to do, which was just a little nice little point off for that one. But whatever, I digress. So going into, just back at the diamond, that's when, a little bit time passed. It looks like Strand might have a new love interest and some guy, I forgot his name, which is cool. And then, yeah, it's just really, then that's when all the RV shows up when they're collecting the crashed car from Nick. They get beset upon a bunch of Winnebagos. And I'm just like, Dale? No, but I know it's the time doesn't make sense for that anymore. But yeah, they all kind of roll up Mad Max Fury Road style. And then we get our introduction to Mitch Miles. I don't remember. I think it's Miles. Is it Mitch or Miles, guys? I'll have to check the chat in a minute. Yeah, it's Mitch or Miles. And he's now, we now have our new bads, and it seems and they're the ones that are putting up all the flags and all that, but it seems that they're an amalgamation. The vultures, they're an amalgamation of a bunch of Walking Dead villains. It very reminiscent of the wolves, with how they put them in that U-Haul, and then they kind of spray painted it, like I think it was like a 7 or a 17 or something on there. So that they're just kind of taking walkers and storing them. They're not killing them. They're not, but it looks like it's going to be for some kind of purpose like that. If I were to make an early prediction, I could see them, right now they're just kind of waiting them out. And they're just like, yeah, we're not threatening you, but we are, because we're just going to kind of sit here. And you haven't watched the episode yet, Walking Dead. What are you doing here? But it seems like, something like that, like a wolves or something where yeah, they're just going to wait them out. And then, when they get desperate or something, then they might, open up that U-Haul and kind of let some walkers in when they're sleeping or something, kind of a weird warfare, so to speak. So I don't think that it's, and kind of a little bit of saviors too, right? Where they're going, but they're like the opposite saviors. They're the non-saber. I don't know. The beer's good, guys. Mel. Yeah, Mel's right. Thanks, Felix. Mel. Yeah, they're just like the destroyers or something. They're the vultures, because they just want to wait people out and probably poke it. It's like death by 1,000 paper cuts, right? So it's like he's like, yeah, I'm gonna be wearing your gun soon because you got weevils and we're here and we're just gonna kind of screw with you, but not full on, all out war style, which is very kind of brave of them to kind of just post up and tailgate at the stadium, because at any point, I mean, the people in the diamond have a vantage point and they could just kind of mow them all down. So it's kind of trusting of Mr. Mel to just kind of sit there in his lawn chair and drink a couple brewskis. So we'll see how this works out, but it definitely does seem like it works out in the Vulture's favor and in a bad way for the Clarks, because once we get to the end of the episode, that's when again we get to see Alicia, and we get to, first off, they have that mole, and that's how death by 1,000 paper cuts. They had an informant. They had this little girl named Charlie, and she was in there and she was gathering information. And this was a cool episode to watch twice. I haven't gotten a chance yet, but I could only imagine. I think I'll enjoy it more on the second view, because you could catch all those nuances from Charlie that Charlie's given out, of asking all the questions. How many people do you have here? Do we have food? Do we have enough food? How long is that food going to last? All these things was really cool. And on first viewing, now thinking back on it, yeah, of course you pick up on it and you're like, oh shit, that little shithead was gaining information and hitting the walkie or something, however she was communicating to Mel and the rest of the vultures. But it was that was pretty cool, how they used the little kid as a mole, which was a theory that they were going to do with Enid. Remember, everyone thought that Enid was a mole, so maybe again, the writers and showrunners kind of listened to the fan base and said, hey, you know what, maybe that would be kind of cool. I don't know. Maybe a little Lydia from the comic books, because I think she was kind of a mole at first until she kind of made that turn. But yeah, so going back to the end of the episode, you get back, or you get to see Nick, Alicia looks like hell, Strand, and Luciana. And immediately they freak out because they see the flag that the new group, the new trio, kind of pulled from that trailer park, district where they killed the other guy. So they immediately think they're part of the Vultures. So you could see that the Vultures are still around in this flash forward, or this now time. You could see that they're still around, and B, you could probably put it together that they did ultimately win the diamond from the Clarks. And that's good, and that's interesting. They left out some key people there. Excuse me, we didn't see Madison. Could they pull the trigger? We didn't see Madison, and we didn't see Naomi at the end, kind of doing that little ambush. Could they have killed Madison off? I mean, no one thought, myself included, especially Alex from The Walking Bread, when we reviewed that episode together, episode 1 and 2 of last season, when they killed Travis off, and I was just like, no fucking way. Like, what are you going to do? That was your Rick Grimes, in my opinion. Madison was always kind of the Rick Grimes. She was always the kind of POV, but definitely he was a Daryl. I mean, Travis was at the time my favorite part of the show, and they've kind of pulled it off. So would they pull the trigger? Just going into speculation, would they pull the trigger on something like killing Madison off? That would be crazy. I mean, you still have Nick, you still have Alicia, who have proven that they can carry the show. So that is kind of a cool thing if they do it, if they do it right. So I don't know. I want to go to the chat real quick before I wrap it up. Felix says, me too. I know, I like knowing what's going to happen before I watch stuff. My problem is I speak my mind and always give unwanted spoilers. But that's just your thing, dude. It's cool. We all love you for it anyways. But yeah, hold on. I'm gonna do one of these real quick. Ooh, that is a big beer. Anything that I missed? I'm trying to think. Yeah, just the Vultures are intriguing. I don't want to see this show. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. When these new people rolled up, the Vultures rolled up, I'm just like, oh, we're back to all out war. So I was a little bit hesitant. I'm like, we just got over, PvP fatigue, in my opinion. There was 2 seasons of Survivors versus Saviors, and I thought the direction was so cool and so new and stuff for the first episode of Fear. And then, I wasn't going to lie. I kind of rolled my eyes a little bit even though it was a cool scene when we saw all the Winnebagos roll up like Mad Max. I was like, oh, it's another bad group. Okay, we're going to do this again. It's the whole season. You sold me on cool, different Morgan gunslinger, chick with a giant, artillerized van, a SWAT van. This is insane. And then it's like, no, it's flashbacks and group versus group again. But I digress. It might turn around. It might not be that. They might wrap up the what happened before storyline with the back and forth in the next episode or the next 2 episodes. Even if they do it, even if they wrap up all the back and forth, what happened at the Diamond and what happened, and all this stuff with the Clarks, kind of sitting around and waiting for the Vultures to kind of pick them clean, I'll even give them to mid-season. But I do want a lot more Morgan. I do want a lot more John, and I do want a lot more Al, because those 3 characters, I mean, yeah, Jenna Elfman, Naomi, she seems fine, but she just seems kind of cookie cutter, and she's a nurse. It's just like you gave me 3 amazing characters in episode 1, and then you gave me the nurse in episode 2. But whatever, it was still a great episode. I am still so psyched for this season of Fear the Walking Dead. I love it so much. Almost as much as I love the Gobsmacked, and this is the Imperial India Pale Ale, from Rubens. Thank you again, Christian from Northwest Beverage, to hang it up. Thank you, Christian, Felix, and Deb. I wasn't even expecting to have anyone in the chat hanging out with me tonight. I was just planning on popping on and giving my quick 2 cents about what was a very good episode. And I would give it out of 5. I would give this one definitely weaker than the first one, but I would give a day in the knot. Yeah, it's a day in the knot. A Day in the Diamond, a solid 3.8. A 3.8 for Fear the Walking Dead season, or episode 2, season 4. Great, really good episode. Just made me a little bit nervous about the directions that they're going to take these characters. But yeah, no, absolutely great. And the beer, the Gobsmacked, I'm going to give it, okay, I love Rubens. Oh my God, I love Rubens. It's a local Washington brew. But this one, it was different, man. This was like this was a really almost, heavy IPA, huge pine bitterness, all that stuff. West Coast, very much West Coast. Everyone's doing the unfiltered now. Everyone's doing the juicy. Everyone's doing even the East Coast IPAs. This one was just kind of straightforward, just big IPA, which kind of caught me off guard, but I liked it quite a bit. I'm going to give this one, I'm going to give it a solid 4. I mean, Rubens doesn't screw up at all. And this is definitely a solid beer. So, Deadheads, what did you think about the episode? Are you still excited for Fear the Walking Dead, especially as much as I am? And again, thank you everyone that joined me in the chat, and we'll see you next week for another Fear review. Spread the disease.